Hey, this is Marielle, and you're listening to Ambiance podcast.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Ambiance podcast. Sitting to the right of me, we got Marielle Co, a designer based out of Los Angeles, California. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. There's a lot to cover with you, and I really am excited about having you on. One of my favorite things about you is that you not only design for yourself, but you also obviously commission for other artists and brands. And I think that takes a whole nother level of talent, because you're not just bringing your own vision to life, because it's one thing to bring your own vision and art to life. It's another thing to bring somebody else's vision and art to life. So I got to say, I really respect what you are able to do with that ability, you know?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for noticing that. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
So what type of challenges do you see with bringing other people's visions to life rather than just your own?
I don't know if necessarily there are a lot of challenges in that for me, just because my background before all of this happened, I was doing weddings, and that was probably one of the more challenging clientele that I've had in the past. Brides are crazy. The brides are a lot.
Because they've had this dream since they were a kid, and they want you to make it perfect for them, huh?
Exactly. So it was kind of my experience in doing something like that, and then my experience turning that into, whether it's like making clothes or rugs or things like that for other artists, it kind of it happened. I don't really have any challenges because everything is different. And I'm not going to say it's not hard. It's definitely hard, but there's never anything that's super specific to that.
Got you, yeah. And I'm sure there's been a bunch of experiences in your life, because you worked a ton of other jobs, which we'll get into later, that have probably translated well into what you're doing now. Like, I know originally you're from San Diego, right?
Yes.
And you went to the Art Institute of San Diego.
I did.
So I noticed you study like culinary arts, right?
I did. I studied culinary.
Did you want to be a chef?
The thing is that I always thought was kind of weird about me was that I knew that I never really wanted a real job. I never had like a dream job. I never woke up and I was like, wow, I really, really want to do this one thing for the rest of my life forever. Like, that never happened for me. I never had that like epiphany when I was little. So when I was a senior in high school and I was like, man, what am I going to do? I guess like I love making stuff. Like back then when I was in high school, we had classes like sewing and ceramics and cooking and
the extracurricular.
Yeah, we had like AV classes and like stage building. Those were my favorite classes to be in. And now I notice that they don't really have that anymore.
Yeah.
But generally, like, because I didn't know what I wanted to be, and all of my friends during that time of my life, they wanted to go into like medical school and wanted to become nurses. I always thought like, I just want to learn stuff that I already like to learn about. So I loved food, and when I was applying for school, it was either food or graphic design.
Wow, that's two polar opposites.
Completely different things, but that was because one of my art classes in high school, they were teaching us how to use Photoshop. And I was like, man, this is tight. Like my Tumblr and like my Zanga.
That's when Tumblr was popping, right?
Yeah, I was like, my stuff is tight. Like, I'm tight. And then I decided to go for food because in my head, I thought like, if there's one thing that people can agree on, it's good food. So
yeah, and it bonds people too. Like you share a meal with somebody, it's like a bonding experience with a friend to catch up or something like that. So you wanted to be like a part of that type of experience for people and just bring that creativity in the world of like culinary arts, right?
Yeah, I think for me, I wanted to like cook for my friends, and in the future, I was thinking like, all right, when I have a family, I would want to cook for them.
Yeah.
Because I want to bring people together like my parents did and my grandma did. Stuff like that.
Okay, so you're pretty nice in the kitchen then, even like to this day?
I think I'm pretty good. Sometimes I think that quarantine showed some people that don't really know how to get into the kitchen, but they're learning.
Exposed a lot of people.
They got exposed. I was like, oh, you made that sick.
Yeah. So I've known also that you've been exposed to like a variety of different creative arts, obviously too. Like during this quarantine or during the pandemic, did you pick up any new talents during that time?
I think I picked up all of my talents during quarantine. Yeah, I was really blessed because my job pre-quarantine, I had like a really nice paying job. I had like a good paying job, and I got to work with all my friends. I got to hire my friends.
Oh, that's Blessing.
So basically, I worked at a creative agency, and we were doing all these like really big brand events for like Jack Daniels. We did Complex. We did like everyone that I ever wanted to work with, Spotify, Apple Music,
Wow.
like huge events. And I've never been a director of anything before. So for me to get that, I was like, wow, this is cool. Like I get to really do this, but it was so stressful.
So you were an event director.
I was an event
right?
director, yeah.
Okay. So what kind of role did you have?
For that?
Yeah.
To do something in that kind of space, you're kind of everything.
Okay.
You're the florist, you're the door person. For me, it was a lot of me organizing everyone else and then delegating tasks.
Okay.
Whether that was like booking artists or booking the space that I worked in, like whatever stage, things like that. It's just, as an event director, you literally do everything, from the food to the alcohol, the bartenders, what they're wearing, what menu you're having, what chairs they're sitting in. Like it's everything.
You got to wear like multiple hats, right?
Yeah,
to make
sure.
to make the event properly run.
Mm-hmm.
So I have here too that you worked a ton of different jobs. I'm gonna list some of them,
Yeah,
and I
go
want you to
for
talk
it.
about some of the experiences.
Go for it.
So you were a casino cashier,
I was.
a bank teller, a bridal assistant, which you kind of
Mm-hmm.
touched on already, a catering manager for a variety of different companies,
Mm-hmm.
and also most recently, obviously, an event coordinator or director.
Yeah.
So with working in so many different type of industries and jobs, do you think that carried over well to what you're doing now, being self-employed and being a designer? Are there any qualities that you took away from it that you kind of carry with you today?
Probably as much as I can. I think because when I was growing up, my parents were always working, and that translated when I was old enough to get a job. I was like, all right, I'm going to work as much as I can, as much as possible. I would do that.
Was it because you were like money hungry, or you just wanted to learn more?
It was both. Part of it was because I craved this independence. I wanted to like live on my own and pay for my own bills and do all this other stuff that I've always wanted to do. And that was my ticket into doing that until in my head, I was like, okay, one day I'll probably get burnt out, or hopefully this will translate into something cooler that I love, which eventually it did. So it just came in good time, for sure.
Yeah. So when you were an event coordinator most recently, were you let go of? Is that how it kind of...
So at first, I was really lucky because I kept my job longer than I noticed a lot of my friends were. I think that when did this start? March
of last year, about a year ago. Yeah.
So I didn't go until like May or something, when I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep holding on to this salary.
Especially since it's an event-driven industry, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I was still getting paid because they were like, maybe we're gonna open up, and everyone during that time was so confused about what was happening that my boss at that time was saying, like, he was like, there's no way that they're gonna shut down for this long, because he was like, it's just not feasible. Like, we'll go into bankruptcy. Like, there's no way we'll go into like the Great Depression again. And I was like, all right, I'll see you when I see you. And then I haven't seen him in a year.
Wow.
So,
that's crazy. Yeah. And you have to think of it too as like a blessing in disguise, because obviously nobody saw any of this happen. Mm-hmm. But do you think that you would have been able to like fully pursue what you're doing now without that happening?
No, not at all. I'm one of those people that can't just stop. Like, I can't just stop working, because I've been working since I was like 16 years old. So that kind of work ethic was always ingrained in me. And it took me the longest time. When I lost my job, it took me the longest time to figure out what I was going to do. I was like, wow, I've been basically training for this for 7 years.
Like subliminally,
now I'm a director.
right?
Yeah, and I was like, now I was a director of events. I got to do all this stuff that I've always wanted to do, and now I can't do it anymore. It literally doesn't exist anymore. And then I was like, all right, what am I going to do? Well, I might as well just like sit at home and start making stuff, because I literally don't know how to spend my time. And this was like the beginning of quarantine, where everyone was just like day drinking at 9 a.m. and like doing nothing, sleeping all day and eating. And like, I got so bored with myself, and I got so over drinking that it turned into like, all right, today I'm going to like sew something or whatever.
Okay. Were you working on what, like, you're designing projects on the side while you were having these jobs, or did you just pick it up recently?
I definitely only picked it up during quarantine.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
My whole time, it was funny because I was talking to my old roommate recently, and he was like, it's crazy to see where you're at right now, because when we lived together, we would always talk about like, oh, our friends do such cool things, and like here we are just like working this normal job at home and, you know, like living day to day, living to die, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Is how we were looking at it. And then he texted me the other day and we started talking about it. And I was like, wow, I don't even remember saying that. But I know that I said that. I guess that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that's the ultimate blessing in disguise then. Like, because if this never happened, if the pandemic never happened, you'd probably still be working that job and you would have never found this like undiscovered passion that you have now, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened. Like everyone, like some people will DM me on Instagram and they'll say like, you're my favorite glow up of quarantine 2020.
Oh,
and I'm like, that's so cool.
Somebody give her an award. Like, honestly, like there needs to be a creative award and you'd win like biggest new designer or something like that.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like, I don't even consider myself a designer or anything. Like, I don't have the accolades to call myself that. If anything, I just like, I'm this person that likes to make stuff, and I get so bored making one kind of thing that I'll learn how to make something else.
Wow. I was thinking this whole time that like maybe you've been doing this thing on the side and now you finally decided to devote your time to it full time. So what like intrigued you first? Like what was that first spark of interest to make you get into designing or just making things for your own interest?
There wasn't anything specific. I think that at that point I was spending so much time on the internet that I was like, wow, this is cool. And then I saw something and I was like, he's selling this t-shirt for $600. I was like, I could make that. So then I started making it and it was like, it was Esta's shirt, and I was just like messing around.
Oh, it was that like
Fuck
Esta drop, right?
Yeah.
I saw that you did the roses on it, right?
Yes,
that was
I
tight.
did that.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first thing, and earlier we were talking about kind of like volunteering in our communities, and I felt so helpless at home, thinking like, what the hell are we gonna do? Like, I can't help anyone. Like, I can't go volunteer. I can't do anything. I can't help anyone. I felt helpless. So my friend Vij, who is a graphic designer, helped me do like a mask template that we put on the internet, and we were like, yo, this is free. Like, download it, trace it on your screen, whatever you need to do, like, because that was at a point where people were selling masks on eBay for like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, they were reselling.
Yeah, do you remember that? That was like early quarantine.
It was
no one
all
could get one.
essentials. Like people were reselling toilet paper, hand sanitizer, masks. Yeah.
So I called Vij and I was like, dude, it's fucked up. Like, you can't capitalize off of someone else's like death or hardships. Like, that's messed up. I was like, let's just put something out for free. If they want to go as far as to making it themselves, then they can. And then that turned into like another project, that turned into another project, that turned into another project.
Wow.
I became obsessed with like trying to figure out how I could help other people. So I started like hosting raffles and like giving my stuff away and then like raising money for different organizations. That became so important to me that I was like, all right, let's just keep making stuff.
Wow. So it really started with like having good intentions and basically organically grew into like what you're doing today. Yeah,
I think that one thing that I've learned about myself is I really strive to make other people happy, whether it's like the smallest thing. And I think I get that from my mom. She's just always so accommodating and like and willing to help and always like there for other people in our family and like here for me and my siblings. Obviously she raised us, right? And I think that she taught me to do that, and now I do it as much as I can all the time.
So you picked up that quality from her then?
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Would she be one of like your big, I don't know about inspirations, but like role models growing up?
My mom, for sure, because, I mean, everyone says this, but like my parents, we didn't have the luxury of them staying home all the time. So my grandparents really raised like me and my brothers and my cousins. My mom is definitely one of my biggest inspirations in my life. Like she works so hard.
Really?
Like, it's insane. She's always at work. And I understand that more now, being older and like understanding how bills work and how money works.
When you were younger, did you see it like a different way? Just like, damn, why is my mom never home?
I did. Yeah. And there was probably a part of me that resented her during that time, because I was like, man, like all these kids and like their parents come to all these things and like walk them to class and like all that stuff. But honestly, like my parents working so much made me stronger, because it forced me to like go out and get whatever I wanted. Yeah, and
to see it firsthand, like the hustle and the work ethic that your mom had, and to experience it in like your own home is a lot different than like somebody else who may have grown up and they maybe had like a different situation where their parents were always home, like you said, because you actually get to see it for yourself, and you know that it pays off, like hard work pays off because you've seen it for yourself, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a different childhood for me, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, you mentioned before as well that you took the like little extracurricular activities that you kind of noticed that you were developing interest in creative arts. Was there any other like indication when you were younger that you were you maybe had like an interest in a different creative art?
Other than like that being an option in school for me, I didn't really like. I think I've always loved like coloring and stuff like that, but like at that point, what kid doesn't? You know what I mean? And also it turns into that thing that's like, I was always at my grandparents' house, so we kind of had to make fun for ourselves.
Yeah.
We had to like figure out what we were gonna do because our parents weren't gonna pick us up till 6 o'clock. So. And
you didn't have like many resources like to play with when you're at your grandparents,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, because they would be like watching TV or they'd be cooking, and then me and my cousins would go run around and try to like figure stuff out and play with rocks in the backyard.
No, that's really important. I think that's interesting. I always find that interesting about like successful or talented creatives like yourself, is that like when you were younger, you were probably doing something creative that you may not have realized when you were younger that was being creative. You know what I mean? That was subliminally kind of training you to use your creative mind when you were at a young age. And it's something that I hope isn't lost in the next generation, obviously, because now kids like don't get that type of exposure. They're constantly entertained by their phones, but at the same time, there's all these creative tools that they get access to, like TikTok and all these other avenues that's going to create like a different type of creative avenue for them, I guess, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. I worry about like this generation a lot because I have nieces and nephews that are teenagers right now. And sometimes I think about it, I'm like, damn, when did I get a phone? Like, when did I get a phone? Because I'm pretty sure when I was growing up, we were just figuring out the internet.
Yeah.
And like that was still brand new to us. And now you guys have so much access to like Photoshop and like Instagram, and now there's like these 12-year-old kids that make $10,000 on Instagram a week or a day. Like,
and now video crazy. Game is like actually a real job, and you can make millions of dollars. So it's not just like a knock on it anymore. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like the golden age of creativity right now. Sure. You know what I mean? Like from a young age too. Where do you draw your inspiration from for a lot of the projects that you have? Does it just come to you, or?
I think right now I just like to make stuff that I like. So I don't even know. So because all of my projects are different, sometimes they're rugs, sometimes they're tables or clothes or whatever I feel like I'm working on that week. There isn't anything specific other than things that I already like. So if I make a table and it has like, for example, I made an old Stussy table design, and then I think I donated that money to BLM during that time of quarantine. That was just pulled from like a really old Stussy design that said increase the peace. And so sometimes
very relevant too with what was going on.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. So sometimes I'll pull from old streetwear because I love streetwear, or I love clothes and I love like style and fashion as everyone else does, right? And then sometimes I'll pull from like my favorite movies or like anime or cartoons and things like that. Like sometimes I'll revisit like stuff from my childhood and do stuff like that. Like I posted recently like on Twitter or even that brand deal that we were talking about, the Rasta one. Yeah, I made a chair, but that week I also made pants, and in that like caption I made these pants actually.
Hard. Those are Dickies, right?
Yeah.
Fire.
I touched base on like when I was 13, my mom bought me my first sewing machine, and it was probably like a $30 sewing machine from wherever, from like Sears or something like that. And I was so pumped. I was like, dude, I got my own sewing machine. I can make all my own clothes and all kinds of stuff. So I did during high school, and then like that 13-year-old me that was like making pants and like random stuff and like scrunchies and things in my room, like with extra fabric and old t-shirts, like that translated into now where I'm like still making my own clothes and like doing things that I want to do.
So you first learned how to do it when you had that sewing machine, and so when you're like at this age now and you want to do projects like this, you already know how to do it.
Yeah.
So it's easy as just like picking up the sewing machine and getting it done.
Yeah,
right?
it's crazy because like even though they're different machines, it's all generally the same basic concept. So like as long as you know your basics and you can take it back to square one, you can do anything with anything. Like you can make anything.
Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like as humans, we're the ones that put limitations on our mind that saying like, damn, like if somebody's watching this or listening to this and you're like, damn, Marielle's like art or like what she does, her projects are so good. Like, I don't think I could ever do it, when in reality, you could probably pick it up and get it done a lot easier than you think you can, right?
It's definitely it's definitely however much you want to put into it. If you really like put your time and your effort into learning how to do something, you can do anything. So people always gas me up and they're like, Marielle, you're always so good at like, because I started taking like a ceramics class and they're like, you're already so good at it. Like you've only taken 2 classes. And I was like, yeah, but I took 2 classes. Like everyone wants to say that they did this or they want to try something, but they don't ever actually do it. Like you need to go out of your way to like sign up for a class or watch a YouTube video and like go and figure out how you're going to get like any supplies that you need. Like if you want to do it, you can do it.
It's all about the effort then at that point then, right? Like
It's the
actually
effort.
taking the initiative to get these things done.
Yeah. I hear it from a lot of people, like even in my daily life, even friends are like, man, like I wish I could do that. I'm like, you can do it. I was like, I'll show you how to do it. You want to do it? Let's do it. Come over. Like I'll teach you how to sew or make a table. We can make whatever you want.
Do you think you naturally pick things up fast though? Like have you noticed that about yourself throughout your life?
Certain things I feel like I can pick up really fast, but when it comes to like computer stuff or like basic where stuff goes when you put it in the cloud, I don't know how to do that stuff. I know that sounds like really weird.
So you have a kryptonite.
Yeah.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
I don't know, you sounds like you're good at everything you do.
No, technology stuff, like I am not good at that. I want to be good at it. I'm going to take classes to do that. But like even this, like this whole setup and like how to do the camera to the mic to like everything, all the lights and everything that you have here, I don't know how to do any of this. So this is also a talent in itself, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Because when I first started this, it was like a foreign language to me as well. Shout out to my roommate, Nick, who helps me out with a lot of this equipment and stuff. Like, I remember when I first started, I just threw the camera up and wasn't even framed correctly. You know what I mean? So that just goes to attest to what you're saying, that like you can really learn anything if you want to do it bad enough. Because I knew if I wanted to do this podcast, but I need to make other things. I need to learn other things in order to make this be the best quality that it can be. And if I really wanted to do it, I can take the time to learn these other things. But if I had that mindset that you were talking about earlier, where it's just like, it's too much, it's too hard, then it's never going to happen. You already in losing mind state at that point. Yep. Like you basically lost before you started because you were already thinking that way, right?
Yeah. So there's those people that are like, oh, I wish I could do that. And then there's the other people say like, oh, I could do that. And then they don't do it. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, where is it? What did you do? Yeah,
and what I want to go back to what you said earlier too, is just like, yeah, like technology, anything related to that, like I'm not as good at, but I want to get better at it. And I think that's a big testament to probably why you're successful and why you're going to be successful moving forward, is that you have that mindset of just like, I'm not good at it, but I'm going to get better at it. Like you're manifesting the fact that you're going to learn that. You know what I mean? I love that.
100%. You can do anything. You can do anything. Anything that you want. You want to make pants, you want to make $1 million, you could do it. You could do it. Yeah.
So is that exciting for you? Because you just kind of embarked on this new journey in the past year, and I feel like you're really humble, so you're not going to give yourself enough credit, but your work is so good. And you just started, like, do you feel like kind of like the sky's the limit, and are you excited for like what's to come just because of what's happened in the past year for you?
I am excited. I think that I dream build a lot, so that goes along with like a lot of manifestation stuff and like telling myself that I can do anything. And a lot of that comes from my mom, because my mom was the one that like didn't make me go to medical school like all my other friends did. Like a lot of my friends, their parents told them like, just become a nurse and you'll be fine, which is amazing. Obviously, we need nurses more than anything. We learned that this last year. Yeah, and do you think that there's like a racial stereotype tied with that too? Because a lot of people like, I have a lot of Asian friends that say that like, sometimes they feel like a disappointment to their family because they're not in the medical field and they're not pursuing that type of profession. Yeah, I think that if you come from a family that emigrated here, your parents automatically instill in you like, hey, this is it. This is the American dream. Like, you can do anything you want to do. You can be anything that you want to be. You have so much freedom here. No one's like oppressing you, essentially. I say that lightly.
Yeah.
We understand where that's going. I say that lightly.
Of course.
But that's how a lot of like immigrant families, they move here and they're like, okay, you can do anything. You can be anything that you want to be. And that puts so much pressure on the kid to like, all right, well, now I have to be a doctor, but am I smart enough to be a doctor other than these thousands of kids that also applied to Berkeley? Like,
Yeah.
what makes me different? Now, not only do I have to be smart, I also have to do sports and extracurriculars, and I have to volunteer, and I have to be a popular kid. Like,
Yeah.
I got to do all this stuff to even, like, for anyone to even notice me. And sometimes that's not even enough. Like, that's so much pressure. And my parents never did that. They came here and they were so focused on, like, working to put a roof over our heads that when we wanted something or wanted to do something, we had to do it on our own. If we wanted to, my brother is like a kick-ass computer engineer. Like, he can do anything, like marketing. Like, it blows my mind at how smart he is about certain stuff. Like, it's crazy. And my other brother too, like, they're just so smart in the things that they know about. He does like photography and videography and like all these things. And I'm like, how do you guys do this stuff?
And that's
like,
so
I have no
cool
idea.
because all of your siblings like are doing different types of professions that like aren't tied to like a traditional like medical field or like office job. You know, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Says
and
a lot
it was
about your
really,
parents.
Yeah, it was our parents' outlet. They were always like, all right, you want to go get it. You want to do something, go do it. And I was like, all right, fine. Well, Ashley's parents, they just gave it to her. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So during that time of my life, I probably resented them. But now I look back and I'm like, they gave me all the tools that I needed. And that was all they needed to do was like, tell me to go do it.
Yeah, I love
That
it.
was it.
And you could say too that like they worked so hard so you had the opportunity to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? And I love
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, parents have a big influence on people's lives because too many times, especially like I feel like in our generation, and I feel like this is gonna kind of die off just because of how like open-minded our generation is, and like when we have kids, it's gonna be a lot different. Not for everybody, but a lot of us, like our parents were taught, like they were raised in an industrial revolution, right? Where just they're taught to get a job, 9 to 5, like get your 401k, your benefits, and everything like that. That when they see their children wanting to be a photographer or wanting to do a podcast or wanting to be a designer, for some of the kids, it's just like they were discouraged from their parents to even pursue that, which could have potentially killed like a dream or them living the life they want to live. You know what I mean? So it's a blessing to always have parents that embrace your passions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important. And even if you can't find that support from your parents, you'll be able to find it somewhere else. Like, make sure that the people you surround yourself with, whether that's your friends or like your cousins and whoever it is, like your coworkers, whoever you surround yourself with on a daily basis, make sure that those people are also lifting you up. Because I feel like I didn't have like a hell of friends in high school or college. Like, it wasn't until after all of that till I really found like my group of friends that was also creative and also working hard every day. That's what motivated me. So if you can't get it from your parents, you need to find it somewhere else to keep you motivated also. And if you don't need people to keep you motivated, then you got to make sure that your work is also worthwhile to you.
Yeah, and you're consuming things that are inspiring you too, because obviously we live in a world of consumption, whether it's like digital, like social media. So if you're following people who, even down to that, if you're following people who aren't inspiring you or are doing the opposite of that, or even like leading you down a wrong path mentally, you see something that you don't want to see, then it can work in the opposite way too, right? Where it can bring you down.
Yeah,
by consuming
absolutely.
that content.
I had a friend like pre-quarantine that sometime like last summer, two summers ago, she got mad at me because I wanted to start selling stuff online. And I was selling like earrings with another friend. And she texted me and she was like, I'm so disappointed in you. It literally said, Marielle, I'm so disappointed in you. She was like, I don't know why you would do all of this without talking to me or like including me in your business plan. And I was like, I didn't know what to say, and I still haven't responded to that text message.
Wow.
Like, that's how crazy that is.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I was like, I'm not going to fight you because it's not my style to get in arguments with people like that. I sat back and I read it, and I was like, all right, she's on a different journey than me right now, and that's fine. Like, whatever she needs to do to find herself. And for me, I took that as like, you don't understand where I am. I'm trying to pay my bills. I'm trying to like get out of this whatever job I was working during that time.
Yeah.
And like try to figure out how I can make money on the side. Like, the fact that you don't see that, I don't think that my journey is with you in the future.
Yeah, some things don't even deserve a response.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, no, that's important too. Like, sometimes you can be involved with the wrong people, or you may not even notice it at the time, but like once you do notice it, like, you can't be afraid to cut ties with certain people, right? Because I feel like a lot of people are like tied to certain relationships because of the length of time they've been friends, or the experiences that they've been through, that they maybe feel stuck in that relationship or that friendship, and it could be detrimental to you down the road, like you're saying.
Absolutely. There's like that saying that says like, it's something about like, you need to be friends with the people that will say your name when an opportunity comes up. And I have so many friends that do that for me now, that doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
Because I know that like, I get DMs all the time of people saying, I'm so-and-so's friend. They told me that you could make this, or like, could you help me with this project? I'm always like, yeah, if I have time to do it, I'm going to do it. But if I don't have time to do it, like, you need to come back to me in like 3 months and I'm down. I always want to be helpful.
That's awesome.
Like, in any sense, whatever it is.
Yeah. And now you're at a space where like you're self-employed full time, right? Like, you do what you want full time. So does that allow you more freedom to be able to embark on like new creative arts and new journeys, because you have like, you make your own schedule and you don't have to like have a side job for like another source of income, if that makes sense? Yeah.
I'm definitely blessed that this whole quarantine really was like such a big eye opener and like business plan for me. Like, came out of nowhere, really. But yeah, I fortunately don't have to go and look for a job right now because of everything that's happening right now in my life, and people reaching out to work with me, or like because they have an idea or a design, they just don't know how to like start it. Like, I'm down. Like, you're only as good as the company that you keep. That's like rule number one. You need to surround yourself with good people.
Love
and
that.
you need to be helpful, because if it weren't for my group of friends, or like for my family pushing me to be creative, or then I would have no support. Where would I be? You know what I mean? Like, I'd probably be working like at some random job that I hate. I'd rather be broke and doing something that I love to do for the rest of my life than like working at this high paying job, hating my life.
Is that something that this past year taught you?
Yeah.
Or like at least brought to life?
Even though like that event directing job paid me a good amount of money, at least enough to like sustain my lifestyle and like buy all the things I wanted to buy.
Live in downtown LA.
Yeah, living in downtown, that's number one. That's number one expense right there. That, and like, I also collect like art books. That alone is its own expense.
It's pricey, or what? I don't have any art books.
It's pricey.
It is?
It's so pricey, and it's so stupid, but I love it so much.
People love what they love.
People love what they love. Some people love sneakers. I love books.
There you go. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You know, you were asking me earlier where I pull a lot of my like inspiration from. There are photos and art in books that you'll never see on the internet.
Really?
Yeah, if you don't take the time to like go and do research, even in an older form, like, you'll never see it. Sometimes I'll Google stuff that I'll find in a book and I can't find it.
Wow.
It's like that. You got to take the time, go to a bookstore, get something super old, and just look through it.
So you're like digging for art, kind of like how like musicians
DJs dig for music.
Yeah, like how like Joe K digs for gems for music. You dig for like art in books, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I guess.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. What are some like niche? Is there like a specific niche of books that you go after?
No, as of lately, I really like home books and like home magazines, but that's normal. That's like, everybody looks for Popeye and like Casa, which is like very normal house and home interior magazines that everyone gets those. Like, I know all of my friends have those magazines, but there's other books that have like, I don't even know. Like, I posted a book on my story yesterday, I think, that was like old graphic design punk magazines from like the 1970s, like stuff like that.
Wow.
Or like, we have a book that we got that's like old dance hall old dance hall posters from Jamaica.
Wow.
Very like specific, very niche things, but the art in them they're just so cool. And it's like from that era, and it's only during that time, and people don't do that anymore. So like stuff like that's really cool. Like I love photo books. I love fashion books. I really love like over this last month, I probably bought 3 books that only have tools and chairs, like very specifically, or just like Hawaiian shirts.
Huh. So it's very
really
diverse,
random.
like
Yeah.
your taste in photo and art books.
Yeah, it's always different. It's anything that like I think will inspire something for me later. So like I'll buy that Hawaiian shirt book, and I'm putting out a button up with Joe on this next drop.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's something
Okay.
that he's always wanted to make, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I have this book that I bought 3 years ago.
Also, sometimes like that source of inspiration may not serve you until a few years later because you're like, oh, I have an idea for this. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like some of my friends for Christmas, they bought me books, and I was like, this is so cool. Like I got like a book from Korea from one of my best friends, and my other best friend bought me a book of just chairs. And I was like, wow, these are perfect. This is exactly what I would have gotten because I love these things so
You're an
much.
easy gift buyer then for your friends. They
I'm an easy
they already
gift.
know what to get you.
Yeah, as long as you can get me like a book that has good pictures, good fashion, or like home stuff, we're straight.
I love it.
That's the thing I like the most.
I love it. So you have a few things working right now, like on I don't know, honestly, on the side, but like you have Ona, right? And
have Ona.
and Planet Mars.
Yeah.
Talk about those two. Like what are those two verticals for you?
So Ona is my earring company with one of my friends, Kathleen. We were like selling and finding and making earrings to sell online, which was the original business that other girl got mad at me for starting, basically.
Okay.
I'm really lucky to have a business partner that can like, she can do everything. Like sometimes I look at her and I'm just so amazed because she can like put a flyer together and a photo shoot and do all of this stuff in like an hour. Like her
Wow.
process of learning how to do something is like unmatched. So we make a really good pair because we're both so good at crafts and like random things that we want to make that it ended up being like we became like an unstoppable pair together. So we have Ona, which actually right now is on hold just because we're revamping right now to sell other stuff. We started making like pots, like planters, and then we have a
Okay.
ceramics class that we're doing together.
Oh, so
All
you guys are
kinds of
taking that
things.
together.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're taking that together. And then Planet Mars was kind of accumulation of everything that I wanted to make during quarantine. I just didn't know what to do with it. Like I didn't
Okay.
know if I should sell it through my personal page or like start a new page or whatever. So it was like sometimes I'll tie-dye sweaters, and I did that for a really long time. And then it turned into tables, and then it turned into rugs, and then it turned into like homeware. So Planet Mars is literally just everything that I like, that I make, that I don't know what to do with, and I have no space in my house anymore.
That's cool. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
just basically, that's just personal projects that you want to sell into the world.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. I am like literally drowning in my apartment because I have so much stuff right now that I've
Really?
collected or I've made. But then part of me is like, all right, well, maybe I should keep it because one day I'll have a really big ass house.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to want to fill it up. So
Exactly. Do you think though that like taste change, like maybe when you buy a house, like you may be into like does your taste change with like seasons and years and times in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that my style definitely changes, but I've noticed that right now I like all of the old stuff that I've always loved.
Like nostalgia.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Like I love all the stuff from my childhood. I love like old cartoon stuff. I noticed that like I also try not to make stuff that I don't like. Sometimes people will send me like their logo or their work, and it's just not necessarily my style. And I also don't want to be the person that makes something for you because I can't portray it in a way that you love it. So I'll turn it down and I'll just be like, I don't want to make that.
Oh, that's really mature of you to like think like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
not just take it on because.
Because of the money?
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, I'll try to like show them someone else that could do it. If I know anyone else that could do it or is taking projects right now. But I I mean, it's your art too. You know what I mean? I don't want to take that away from you or make something that you're not proud of also.
Yeah.
But fortunately, people that ask me or like hit me up to make stuff, they understand that it's like also a learning process for me because I'm still new to this space. It's only been a year. Like I just learned how to use a power saw this year. Like it's all still new.
And that matters for like your tables. I mean, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Like a lot of it is like time and space, and like I don't want to be rushed in any kind of process. Like I noticed that I also do that when I'm working with other people. Like I try my best with like graphic designers, photographers. I learned this when I was like first starting to work in events. Like you don't want to push anyone's creative process because the outcome of that is not going to be what you want it to be. So I'm always like, hey, just checking in. You guys doing okay? Do you need anything? You have any questions?
Yeah, for sure. And if you rush it, that compromises quality too at times.
So I try not to do that to other people so they don't do it to me either.
Yeah, and one thing to listen to, like pay attention to too, is this like if you're like a consumer like buying a piece of art from somebody, it's like you're not only just paying for like the art because like it took that person a long time to put in the time to be able to learn how to make that art. So it's like you're not just paying for like the piece, you're paying for like the experience of that artist or that creative themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're paying for what they value their time and their art at. That's what you're paying for. And a lot of the time, like I hate when people say like, oh, that person is so expensive. I used to hear that a lot when I was doing weddings. I hated hearing that because I was like, you don't have to use them.
Yeah.
You can find someone that's cheaper, but it doesn't mean that they're going to do the job that you want them to do.
Very true, yeah.
So don't complain because you pay that person less. Like you need to either save money or figure out how to pay for that or like and hire the person that you want, or you can't complain.
Yeah.
Like that's just the end of the day.
Very true. Are there any like arts or like creative arts that you want to get into that you haven't yet? I know you talked about like ceramics, yes.
Honestly, I signed up for that ceramics class 2 months ago. So I've been waiting to do this now for what feels like forever. There isn't anything, I don't know. Let's see. I think I've done the clothes during quarantine. I'm still doing that. Tables. I want to like get into furniture building that doesn't include anything that's like hype. And sometimes it discourages me because I think that a lot of the times that I sell something, it's because it's like a hype piece. And I don't want to be that person.
You don't want to be like the hype designer.
No, yeah. I don't. That's like, I love it, but that's also someone else's art. So I don't want to be here making bootleg something of someone else's stuff. I want to like make my own stuff that I like and find people that also like the stuff that I make.
Would you say like fine art or just like what you want to make in general?
I'd like to make bookshelves, which goes along with everything that I like because I love books. I'd like to make like bookshelves, and I just want to make furniture. I wouldn't say necessarily fine art. I just want to make stuff that I like, but I feel limited to do that because I don't have any more space in my house.
Yeah. What do you put everything at to store?
So my apartment is about 1,200 square feet, which is really big for an LA apartment.
Yeah.
It's pretty big. But if you think about my creative space, I probably have 2 sewing machines, which is 2 different desks, and then I have another desk that I work on, so that's 3 desks, plus my bookshelf, plus my couch, and everything honestly just lives in my living room right now. And then I have a gang of power tools. I have like 2 sanders, 2 different kinds of saws. Like I have wood, and then like all these other things that I need to put all this stuff together.
Okay.
So like it's honestly all in my living room right now, but I have kind of like a method of where everything goes, but it's hard.
The more you grow, the more like it's gonna be to manage, huh?
Yeah. And it's hard too because I have 2 dogs. So
you have 2 dogs.
They also take up space.
Wow.
So it's a lot.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So Marielle, tell me what you have going on in the near future. Anything you're excited about or anything you want to share?
I think on my own, I'm going to drop these pants that I made. I'm going to make a bunch of them and try to sell them online. Which has been kind of like a long time coming because I've been trying to make a website for myself for such a long time. I just haven't done it yet.
It wouldn't be a part of like Planet Mars?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to like brand myself and like just come out with that kind of stuff because I only want to do a few things that I really like to make, which would be like these pants, and I'm also making these acrylic flower vases with my friend.
Okay.
Who has a laser cutter thing that like cuts everything. So those are like two things that I have that are gonna come out. Other than that, I do work with Joe K on his timeless classic stuff that comes out this Friday.
Okay.
Which is really exciting.
Yeah,
Because we've been working on that for a while.
I see him like showing little sneak peeks of like what you guys are working on, and
He's the marketing genius.
That's smart. He's just like giving you a little taste of like what's to come, and it kind of just builds up the hype for it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been working on this probably since the last one, which was in October or November of last year.
Wow, so it really does take a lot of time.
It does. Production and like samples and like reworks of designs, like that's such a long process, and he's so entwined and like zeroed in on like exactly how he wants something to be, so he's very detailed, and I feel like that's where we get along, because both of us we never want to release anything that we weren't super proud of or like isn't exactly what we wanted it to be.
So patience is a big part too,
yeah.
Because obviously stuff like that takes time and you have to be patient to.
Yeah, and it's also hard, like you see like all these other people coming out with stuff and you're like, I want to come out with stuff too, but you know, like patience and everything happens at the right time in your life. So
very true. That's
coming out, and then I'm also working with Selection on another collection that comes out in April. So that's something that we'll get there later.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah, if you're listening and watching, tap into that when it comes out. You do amazing work, so I could only imagine you collabing with a brand like Selection and how open-minded and creative they are. Like, what's going to come out from that?
It's really a blessing. Like, working with Selection and with Joe is really, really a blessing, which actually came about because of Jasmine, who you also interviewed.
Shout out to Jasmine.
Yeah, so shout out to Jasmine.
Collier.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Crazy.
She's like a people connector. Like, you know what I mean? She just has like an organic like talent for connecting people, which makes sense is why she's like an amazing artist manager.
Yep,
you know?
Exactly that. I think Joe asked Jasmine if she knew anyone that could make something, and then she asked me, and I sent her a bunch of links and a bunch of people, and then it turned into like, why don't you just do it? And I was like, are you going to add me to your bio, Jasmine? You want to manage me? You can just put my name in there, and then
the coveted bio of Jasmine.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to, one day.
One day.
I'm manifesting it. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, she's a great manager. She's great at what she does. But yeah, you have like just a knack for like bringing visions to life. How do you like manage to source these different elements so well? Like, you know what I mean? How do you know like who to reach out to for these different garments? Because obviously there's tons of factors that come into play that a lot of people may not know about. There's like, obviously there's a garment distributor. There's somebody who prints the logo, the designs. Then there's you stitching the actual tags like on the shirts, you know?
Different things definitely come from different places, and fortunately, if you live in LA or if you are connected in LA in some way, you can make anything here. That's like really the beauty of LA that I've learned. I moved here like 6 years ago, and I didn't really take advantage of that until like this last year, because all I could think about was like, you can do anything in LA. Like if you want to like rent a studio, do a photo shoot, like I think, or if you want to like make clothes and buy fabric and source all these things, like if you just really put in the time and figure out where this stuff gets made, and you take a day and you walk around the fashion district, you can figure out where to get something made. Like,
yeah, you can't do that many other places in the U.S.
You can't. Like other places don't have like a Chinatown, for example, or a fashion district, or LA Flower Market. Like other places don't have that. Yeah, I noticed that too a lot during quarantine, because I noticed that a lot of brands started selling plants online. Have you noticed that? Like, there's like all these home accessory places, and they all sell like plants. And I was like, that's so weird. Why would I buy a $50 plant from the sky online to ship it to my house when I could just go down the street and buy it for $7?
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, I'm stupid. Obviously, like,
they're
going there and getting the plants and then selling it online. Like, that's your own business. That's your own hustle.
Yep.
Like, if I don't want to say move to LA, because it takes a special person to kind of like come out here and like hustle and really be successful and like get what they want out of living here. Like if you're moving to LA to do online shit, like do your online shit somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need to be here. Like, or even just like taking pictures. Like you don't need to do that here. You could do that. When I say taking pictures, I mean like influencer stuff.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to do that here. I noticed that a bunch of people like that I follow online moved to LA because they wanted to like be a part of a certain scene, and then left because they couldn't do anything because of quarantine.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude,
true.
you could do your job at home, do it at home if you can.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is like, you need to take advantage of like your space and like your community. And if you can't get to LA, you need to find the person that does it in Minnesota if you live in Minnesota.
Yeah, because the entire process is a lot harder. Like if you live, for example, in like Kansas or something like that, like where you have to use different companies and reach out to different people who don't even live in the same state as you. Whereas like if you used a company out here, there's like 5 maybe different types of suppliers that live within each other. You could just pull up on them, right?
And you don't even, the thing is like, you also don't need to be in LA to like find these things. That's why we have the internet.
Yep.
You just need to find a company that's in LA that does it for you. Like, you know, when people buy like streetwear stuff and they wait in line, like there's a guy that lives in Louisiana and pays some guy in LA to go stand in line for him and then get his t-shirt and then send it to Louisiana.
Really?
That's a job.
Like a mule?
Literal mule.
Wow.
A streetwear mule. Literally what it is. He's like, I'll pay you $100 to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, wait in line until they open at 11.
Wow.
And then send me the shirt.
The hype is crazy.
The hype is crazy. So stupid.
It's nuts. Yeah. Cool. Well, what besides that, is there anything else that you're working on like for your own brand?
That I want to plug? Nothing in particular that I've come up with yet. It honestly just takes the right thing to come on to my Instagram feed, or like when I'm looking through books or I'm at a bookstore, it just takes the right thing that I'm like,
I want to do that.
I could make that. I didn't even snap. I can make that.
Gotta get the snap down.
Yeah. I was like, I can do that, or I want to try that, or like sometimes I'll see like a bag or like something weird. Like one of my friends sent me a picnic table, but it was like specifically for picnics, like on the floor, a teeny tiny table that unfolds and you can put like wine glasses in. I was like, wow, that's so smart.
Yeah, that's very smart.
I'm gonna make that.
Yeah, that's cool that you see things that you like and you're like, I want to make it rather than just buy it.
Yeah.
And shout out to Ricky, somebody else who I had on the podcast a few episodes ago, Ricky Directs, but we talked about this as well, as just, you kind of explained this process yourself, is you come across inspirations by living life rather than like forcing it. Like you're not looking for inspiration like, oh, I need to find this inspiration to make something. You're kind of like, you see something and you want to make it, and then you make it. And I feel like that makes the art a lot better because you're not forcing it, you know?
I honestly, like, it comes with time. And I think I said that in the beginning also, because I needed my first 5 years of living in LA to be like about me and about working and trying to figure out what I really wanted to do, to have this year to really focus on myself and like, and figure out my capabilities, because now I feel unstoppable. I really feel like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I could make anything that I want.
I love it.
And no one's gonna stop me.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you put that time in, and you experienced everything you needed to in those 5 years to be able to reap the benefits that you are reaping right now. And I don't know you that well, but it seems like you deserve what you have coming to you. And I'm excited to continue to watch what's going to be in store for you in the future, because we already talked about it, but your ceiling's like crazy high. Like you just started and the world isn't ready for like what's going to come next. So.
I really don't think so. I don't. I'm going to make some cool stuff.
Yeah.
You are too, though.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. I have a lot of plans for this too when we get out of COVID, when everything's kind of more settled as far as just like what this is going to become. Because you kind of limited it, like obviously with the pandemic, to like what you can do, obviously. But I have a ton of other plans for this, and stay tuned for more to come. Where can people follow you on social if they want to follow your journey?
All of my social handles and my Venmo.
Ooh.
If you want to send me money,
Bless her.
it's my name, which is Marielle Co. I'm at Marielle Co on Twitter, Instagram, Venmo, PayPal.
Plug it.
Cash App.
Hey. Very smart to list them all as the same.
Yeah,
Marielle
those are
Co.
all my things.
Yeah, for sure. Any last words from you before we hop off here?
No, I don't think so. I think be more, do more, have more. That's what you should follow if you're doing something, I think.
I love it. We'll end on that. From Ambiance Podcast, this is Levi, Marielle. Shout out to Gus behind the camera. We out.
Thank you.
Peace.